The Sinnoh region is easily one of the most interesting Pokemon regions to date because it delves into the very origin of the Pokemon world itself. Thanks to this, it provides for a lot of interesting questions and mysteries that have yet to be explained, which we've been covering for every generation in this series. And today, it's Sinnoh's turn. So sit back and relax as we take a look at some unexplained mysteries from the Sinnoh-based games. Alright, let's start off with one that I've personally wondered about ever since I was about 12 years old playing Diamond and Pearl for the first time, and that's what exactly is going on with the cathedral in Hearthome City. Once you arrive in Hearthome, you will very likely notice this very large and distinct building right away, and upon entering, you'll discover that it's a church. Having an actual church in a Pokemon game is already kinda crazy enough, considering how touchy a subject like religion can be, but adding on to that, there is absolutely no music played while you're in the building. As a kid, this led me and many others to believe that something important was supposed to happen here, as it adds a sort of eerie tension almost immediately. Then when you couple the presence of a church with the introduction of the Pokemon world's god in this game, Arceus, it seems obvious that this place would serve some larger purpose, but no, at the end of the day, it's nothing more than a little bit of world filler. While there's been no evidence brought forth at this time to suggest that there were originally bigger plans for this cathedral, I cannot in good conscience not suspect that something is going on here. Like, of all of the things to just fill out the region with, they choose a church? Sure, it does make sense with Arceus being here and whatnot, but as I said, it's hardly worth it for a game like Pokemon, where one wrong move could have some soccer mom up in arms threatening to sue you, and we know that the franchise is no stranger to this kind of treatment.
Pokemon world is a world of the demonic, of the satanic.
Additionally, making the building look so huge and distinctive compared to everything around it is a classic hallmark of video games to say that you need to go here or something important is going to happen here. So I absolutely believe something was going to happen here originally, but whether or not that is the case, and if so, what exactly was it, is the big mystery here. I assume, as I said, that it would have been some type of event having to do with Arceus or another legendary, but unless we have some type of big blowout of Sinnoh beta content like we've had for Gens 1 and 2 recently, it's likely that we'll never really know for sure. One question in Pokemon Platinum specifically that is practically set up to be answered in a sequel that we have not yet got is the fate of Cyrus. In all of the Gen 4 games, Cyrus's goal is to destroy the universe in order to make a new one of his own design. But in Platinum specifically, he along with the player enter into the Distortion world as his plan begins to culminate. Once you defeat him, however, unlike most other Pokemon villains that more or less realize their defeat, Cyrus continues to proclaim that one day he is going to succeed in his plans as if you never defeated him at all, and to top it all off, instead of exiting the Distortion world along with you and Cynthia, he instead retreats further into it. So where did he go exactly, and what ended up happening to him? It seems to be implied that he chose to stay in the Distortion world rather than leave, and while possible, it's unlikely that he would have left through another exit, as he entered into the Distortion world in the first place through the same portal that you and Cynthia did. So is Cyrus ever going to get his revenge? Considering it's been nearly 15 years, I really doubt that a sequel is going to happen at this point, but the Diamond and Pearl remakes are most likely right around the corner, which is our biggest chance at some kind of resolution. They could do some type of Delta episode sort of thing to explore this, which would be amazing, but will they? The only reason I even suggest all of this is because, like I mentioned, it seems practically set up for a sequel type of thing, and otherwise it would just be another mysterious circumstance we'd never see closure to. So while it is very mysterious and unexplained at this point, at least we have some kind of hope that something could maybe possibly happen to offer an explanation in the future. Okay, so here's one that I already know is never going to get explained in any way, cause frankly it would be pretty hard to, and that is the origin of Arceus' egg. Among the various Sinnoh folk stories that are found in Diamond and Pearl, one is shared on the origin of the universe. It states that in the beginning there was only a churning turmoil of chaos. At the heart of the chaos, where all things became one, appeared an egg. Having tumbled from the vortex, the egg gave rise to the original one. So this is talking about how Arceus came to be and how Arceus subsequently created the universe, but I think it's interesting how it states there was only a churning turmoil of chaos in the beginning and then the egg just appeared, supposedly by tumbling from the vortex. Well, what vortex? Usually vortexes have a beginning and an end, so what exactly was on the other side? Another universe maybe? Eggs don't exactly just appear out of nowhere, so this is probably the best explanation we've got as to where it came from, but then what exactly does a universe look like where something is capable of giving birth to an Arceus egg? And why did that vortex even appear? Was it just happenstance, or was the egg purposefully sent to this universe in order to start it? There is actually much more you can infer here and many more possible explanations than you would naturally expect for something like this, but honestly, how do you even approach explaining the origin of God? Like, it's insanely interesting for sure, but if Arceus actually did come from another universe, then that's a whole other universe of worms that you open up by answering that question, and it also requires you to go back to the literal beginning of time to even answer it, so no, I don't expect it to ever be explained, but the mystery itself goes a whole lot deeper than you might normally expect. Another classic unanswered question from Sinnoh is the predicament involving Manaphy and its ability to breed. Manaphy being able to breed is unusual right from the get-go, since Manaphy is a mythical Pokemon who usually are not able to do so under any circumstances. Furthermore, it's also genderless, which adds to the confusion, and then to top it all off, when it does breed, it produces Phione instead of another Manaphy, who doesn't even evolve into Manaphy. So not only does this not make sense as a whole, but each individual step also should not be able to happen, so the fact that it all works together has it making even less sense when you think about it. At the end of the day, some of it can be attributed to Game Freak just wanting to do something different, because they set the rule that mythicals can't breed, so they can break it. They set the rule that genderless Pokemon can't typically breed, so they can break it. But you know, even self-imposed rules do have limits, which is why Phione, coming out of Manaphy, continues to be mind-boggling. You can't even really come up with any possible theories, because where do you even start? There aren't really any breadcrumbs, so to speak, like there are with some of these other solved mysteries to where we can infer about it. It's just a really weird situation that is honestly at the pinnacle of unsolved mysteries in Pokemon, and it's one that we'll probably have to continue scratching our heads on for a long time to come. Some of the most interesting things to come out of the Sinnoh games come from the various folk tales and myths I mentioned earlier, and for our next unsolved mystery, it has to do with the evolution of both humans and Pokemon that are mentioned in Sinnoh Folk Tales 2 and 3 that you can find in the Canalave Library. Respectively, they state, there lived a Pokemon in the forest. In the forest, the Pokemon shed its hide to sleep as a human. Awakened, the human dons the Pokemon hide to roam villages. And there once were Pokemon that became very close to humans. There once were humans and Pokemon that ate together at the same table. It was a time when there existed no differences to distinguish the two. These two folk stories are obviously referring to how Pokemon and people have evolved as species over time, but what makes it really interesting is that it implies and outright states that they were at one point very closely related, to the point where you couldn't even tell the difference between one or the other. So does that mean that humans and Pokemon share a common ancestor? Were humans once Pokemon themselves? The folktales don't really come outright and say this, so it leaves some to interpretation, which is why we're talking about it here as an unsolved mystery, but with that more or less being implied, how exactly was that even a thing to begin with? How would humans break off from creatures as fantastic as Pokemon, and what would even incite that sort of thing? If humans were Pokemon at one point, that means they obviously would have had a typing, access to moves, and a ton of other abilities that humans obviously don't. So why would Pokemon need to give all of that up from an evolutionary standpoint? It also is worth noting that the original Japanese version of Folk Story 3 even says that Pokemon and people married each other at one point because they were so similar, so yeah, I'll let you chew on that. But more information explaining the deeper relationship between humans and Pokemon would be so great to have, because it feels like this is just the tip of the iceberg, but unfortunately I don't know that that's ever gonna happen anytime soon. And those were some unsolved Sinnoh mysteries. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe if you're new for more Pokemon content all the time. Also, you can let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you would like, you can support the channel further by checking out my Pokemon podcast that I do over on the UCast Studios YouTube channel. This last week, I talked about some of my unpopular Pokemon opinions that I haven't really discussed on the channel before, and it was a lot of fun, and I talk about a lot of things like that, so yeah, you should go ahead and give that a listen if you can. Anyway, with all that being said, I'll be back with another video on Thursday, so be sure to hit the notification bell for that, and until then, as always, I love you guys, and I will smell you guys later.